you so much. I hope you can hear me. Can you all hear me now?
Yes, yes, Nina, we can hear you.
Great. And I think I can also share my screen. Well, I
Yes.
have to tell you that I've been listening since we started this morning, and a lot of what I put together to share with you, you have already heard. But part of my presentation is really going to be about changing the perspective around these things to really look carefully at our employees' mental health and to begin to understand how important their mental health is and our role in making sure that that mental health gets taken care of properly. Okay, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate being able to hear from you because now the way I've got this set up, I can't really tell if it's working the way I should. But what I want to do is maybe look a little bit differently at the perspective, from a different perspective, at the things that we've already been talking about this morning and throughout the program so far today. We all know that people are a valuable asset, and we all really understand the value they bring to our organization, um, and the importance that they bring to us as employers. But do we really know how to retain that value and the assets of our talented employees as we did before COVID? Post COVID, we have a very different scenario that is really critical for us to consider. Employees really need to feel that their jobs love them and they love their jobs. And that together, as we've been talking about the importance of being a collective group and being part of a bigger group, becomes even more important. How are we able to show our employees that their jobs love them? What are the things that we can do that actually will help us do that? And how do we retain talent and support our employees' well-being and their mental health? Turnover is more than just a numbers game. And Christopher went over many of these things about the way that people feel about their jobs and why they leave jobs and what's important to people in jobs. But as you look at these, you'll see that many of them actually have to do with feelings and stress and the way that people appreciate or don't appreciate or feel appreciated or don't feel appreciated, the things that are happening in their workplace. And it's that we really want to look at. Whether our organization has low voluntary turnover or high voluntary turnover, low involuntary turnover or high involuntary turnover, or some combination of both that varies by department and according to the time of year, turnover statistics tell us a story about our company processes, procedures, leadership, and culture. And this is a quote from PayScale in an article that they did called "It's Turnover, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly." It is a key metric for HR to look at in more than just one way. It's not just a number. When we have turnover, it really impacts many, many areas of our business. First of all, we lose a lot of IP and knowledge when our employees transition out the door, and the employees and our clients experience disruption in the way they're being treated and who they're able to interact with, and so it creates a disruption of our process flow as well. Not all turnover is bad, so sometimes turnover can be seen as important to be able to help bring new ideas in, and maybe it's time for some people to go. And you can see here a list of some of the reasons that people stay with the business, and some of those are not very good reasons for people to stay. And it's important for us, and I think Chris also spoke to this in terms of managing performance, that when people are staying for the wrong reasons, that we don't allow them to continue to stay, that we actually take some time to ensure that we move them up and out and around so that we can have the happiest and most productive workplace that we are able to produce or provide for our people. How can HR provide the support and awareness that's needed to ensure that employees' well-being, including sound mental health and job satisfaction and engagement, are really being met? So it is an issue of company culture, and I think everyone has spoken to this before too. But the big issue here is that in the Journal of Psychological Well-Being and Job Satisfaction, it was written that it finds that given the amount of time an individual spends at work and working, job satisfaction is a really integral part of psychological well-being and therefore of mental health. An important component of all employees' well-being includes having the right resources available to them. If you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, making sure that all those basic needs are met, but also helping to create or being able to exist on a daily basis in a place where sound mental health, job satisfaction, and engagement are key elements of the environment that foster and nurture their relationship with their employer. It doesn't always cost a lot of money, but it does take an investment of time. And I think Christopher and Sanjay also spoke about these things earlier, and maybe Faradum did as well. That how well do you know your people? How well do you actually understand and know who they are as individuals and what's important to them? Anything about their family, what their current circumstances are. These are really critical things for HR to be aware of in terms of the way that we interact with our managers and with the business sectors that we support, but also to help us really create that stickiness with the relationship with the employees. It does take an investment of time, and we want to ensure that there is feedback that's often shared, both from the managers, and this again speaks to something that Christopher shared. They need to know what's expected of them and how well they're meeting those expectations on a regular and purposeful basis. And it should be happening daily where they get this feedback so that it's not creating stress. They're not concerned from a mental standpoint of how well they're doing at work. They know and they understand exactly what should happen next, and that whether they're doing what is expected of them or whether they need to change their behaviors in some way. It also takes an investment of time, because what's our reaction when they make a mistake or when a part is missing or when they continually call out sick? Is our reaction to just, as again, Christopher, I think, shared this beautifully, that oftentimes it's just seen as the employee's fault. They're sick, they're lazy, they don't want to come to work. But oftentimes that really is not the case. There's something else going on, that if we have that relationship, we as HR have that relationship with the employees, we might be able to actually help them resolve or solve whatever their performance problem or lack of presence at the office might be. Another place for us to really think about is, what is it that our policies say? Are our policies written for compliance, or are they really written to convey a policy of trust and building relationships with our employees? Oftentimes, and I know in my own experience, policies are written for the people who disobey more than they're written for the people who obey. And what message does that send? Because most of our employees do obey, do follow the policies, do want to be a part of the culture and the process that we're building. The culture and the process that we're building. But if our policies are all about, this is again, also addressing some things that Christopher shared with us earlier. If it's all about taking away something or making something harder or more difficult to do as a result of negative interactions or behaviors, are we really sending the right message? Are we really painting the right picture for our employees to feel that their well-being and their mental health is really being looked after at work? Or are we making it more stressful? Are we making it more rigid? Are we giving them more reason to be concerned? Where does our focus need to be? So from, again, my completely sharing my own perspective with you, we need to really look at supervisors and managers and help them be more coaches and help them provide regular feedback, give them the tools and the opportunity and the training to be able to incorporate that into the way they lead their job. And Christopher, I'm sorry to repeat so much of what you said, but I think you did a brilliant job of sharing both of our presentations today. And it's really important. People don't really want to be managed. They want to know what to do and be allowed to do it. And if we hired the right person, we should get out of their way as their supervisor or manager and let them do their job and only be there when they need us to coach them or to remove obstacles that might come into their way. We can include our team, our whole team, in the hiring process and make sure that they get a chance to review candidates and potential new members onto the team as well. Our supervisors and managers can cross-train or help the employees be cross-trained department to department to offer opportunities to work on different projects, because people get tired of doing the same thing all the time. And when they have something new and they can be challenged by something new, it often sparks new energy in them. Doing supervisors and manager check-ins, not just HR checking in with people, but managers talking to their employees, not only about business, but how are things going? How are your children? How are your in-laws? Any of those things that let the individuals understand that we're connected with them, not only for our own financial gain or for business, which we are in business to make money, so certainly that's always going to be at the top of our list. But we do really care about them as people too. Supervisors and managers know how to delegate and how to allow for autonomy. This is the idea of looking for results and not necessarily looking at all processes, but making sure that we can delegate things appropriately and share with managers the appropriate way to delegate. A lot of times, and I think we mentioned this morning as well, people aren't able to do the job that's delegated to them because they don't have the right skill to do it, or they don't have the right tools. And if we don't check in with them, if we don't follow up with them and make sure that all of those tools and skills that are needed are part of the delegation process, then we're actually letting them down. It's also really important for the organization to be open and transparent about the strengths of the business and the financial perspectives of the business, to understand and be a part of how they connect, how what they're doing actually connects to helping the company be successful, and know what message our culture is sending. What are we really conveying to our employees by way of our culture? Is it the message that we really want them to hear and to receive from us? If we don't stop, if we don't examine it and we don't look at it, we may think we know what the culture is, like the posters on the wall. And yet when you really think about culture, it comes down to what is the employee experiencing in the way they work and interact with each other every day. That's where the culture really exemplifies itself. And who's responsible for human resources? This is, again, another question, but is it the CEO? Is it just the HR manager? Is it all the supervisors and managers and the employees themselves? Everyone has a role to play if we set it up properly within our organization, and if we pay attention to the right tools and make them available for each of the players to be able to use and leverage, to be able to strengthen their own mental health and their own well-being, because they have the tools and skill, ability, and opportunity to address that. Remember to keep the human elements in your human resources. And I'm so glad I wanted to share a story, since we've talked about storytelling and it's become so important. So I just wanted to share the story of Grandma Sparky. So this woman, in 1979, decided to start this organization because she was in a very, very difficult place herself and really ready to give up on life. And she decided that in the way that she came out of her depression, she decided it was really important to help people understand that who I am really makes a difference. And she started the Blue Ribbon organization, which now has gone global. And now they're building Blue Ribbon cities. And the whole idea is for people to walk up to each other and give them the blue ribbon and say, who you are really does make a difference. You make a difference. And I want to give you this blue ribbon. May I put it over your heart to let you know how important you are, with the arrow pointing up, to be able to tell you that you can achieve your dreams. And then if I'm going to give this to you, I have to do it with a special blessing from me, which is, and then you point your finger at them and you say, bing. And if you're doing this in a room and all the people are doing it together, you can't believe the energy that this creates in the room. This is used now across the US in many ways, and now she's gone global too. It might already be in India, but I think it's a great kind of story to share about keeping the human side of things and the idea of being able to actually tell someone else that you think that they're important and let them know who they are makes a difference. If we look to the future with emotional intelligence, there are 4 areas of impact that really have a bearing on our employees' mental health and our own, for that matter, as well. They're the people, the technology, the economy, and globalization. And when we think about people, it's not just the employees, but we have to think about ourselves and our employees and our clients and also our vendors, because the way that we interact with all of them and the way they interact with us is an important part, again, of the way our culture exhibits and the way that our employees experience being our employees. So when we look at ourselves, it's like being on the airplane, and they always tell you, put your mask, if the oxygen masks fall, put the mask on yourself first before you try to help someone else. And this is really an important aspect. We need to think as HR professionals, and I just received the SHRM magazine, and the very first front headline today says, HR under pressure, and it shows the letters HR with vices on each side of it. So what have we been through? How are we dealing with the personal outcomes and impacts of COVID in the last couple of years? What have we done for ourselves during this period of time? Have we developed any best practices that we want to take along with us as we move forward to help us take better care of ourselves? Do we need to build a way forward? And what do we need help to build a way forward? And what type of help do we need? And are we willing to reach out and find it for ourselves first, so that we can actually be that strong pivotal point for the employees and for our organization? For our employees, each of them have different perspectives and outcomes from what they've experienced through COVID. Meet and greet them where they are. Everything that we've been through has been a significant change. And everything that we're going to do going forward is also going to be a significant change initiative. We must take it step by step. We must be sensitive to how people react to change. And we must remember to initiate the things that we're going to initiate as a change process, so that we give people time to go through the process of unfreezing and learning and refreezing. What will our work look like and be in the future? We just had a great glimpse at augmented reality and virtual reality and how those things might be impacting us going forward. Is that going to be a part of our workplace? How will roles and responsibilities in our organization change in the coming 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? How will we communicate, and what will we communicate to our employees? And how many multi-directional channels will we use? Do we just send out emails, or do we use text and tweet and Facebook and other social media avenues to be able to get our message across, as well as scripted speeches for our managers, scripted speeches for our CEO, and constant and consistent messages across the organization? For our clients, they've never needed us more than they do right now. So how has the impacts of what they've experienced impacted their brand or their image and who they are? What can or should we be doing to prepare our employees for dealing with client issues? They may be more concerned or even engaged than in the past because of the way that COVID has impacted their business or their organization. And depending on our relationship with them, we may need to be more involved or engaged. What do we need to do differently to help people prepare our teams to be ready for our clients and to return safely to work, whether we still work remotely or whether it's hybrid or whether we are in the office or at a client's location? All of those things are coming back. How do we help people feel safe in that new environment? What do we need to do to help ensure that there is a feeling of safety? And our vendors, what due diligence do we need to do with them to ensure that they'll still be able and willing to provide and meet our needs? Do we need to search for additional backup just in case some of the vendors aren't able to survive the COVID shutdowns? How have the past 24 months impacted them, and how will the next 24 months impact them? And how are they preparing for the future? If we don't ask our questions about these things, our clients and our vendors, we can be impacting our ability for sustainability as a business ourselves. And the more prepared we are, the more we think about these things in terms of the way they impact our employees' ability to be able to do their jobs, to have that job satisfaction, and to have good mental health around being happy and satisfied at work. We can't do it unless we answer these kinds of questions and are prepared to look and do the things that might be difficult for us to do around dealing with our clients and our vendors. The things that are important, and I think that you got this message also from Chris, but the big thing here in terms of people is dissonance between values that are espoused by the company and the company's actions on a day-to-day basis. And technology is definitely going to impact us going forward, and just realize that some people are more attuned to and better able to deal with technological changes than others. And it will put a lot of stress on our workplace as we enhance and leverage technology to move forward. But we can also introduce technology as a way to help us think about doing our jobs differently, to help meet the needs of that future with a better and more streamlined and effective a support system for the employees as they do their jobs, if we're able to put that technology in place. And then how prepared are we for the impacts of an uncertain economy? We can't just say that COVID's never going to happen again, and I think this was said earlier as well. VUCA is here to stay in a different way than we've ever experienced it before, but it's really critical for us to be prepared to deal with the uncertain economics that might face us in the future. And certainly globalization is here to stay, and we need to know what our strengths, opportunities, and threats are, and we need to share that with our employees so that they understand and can help us actually in the process of looking at how we can be better in that global marketplace. So what's HR's role? Make sure that the basics are right, and then create a sustainable culture that leverages emotional intelligence to connect, build, and strengthen the employee value proposition. And thank you, and I'm sorry if I went over.
Thank you, Nina, so much.